On today's Core of the Bible Daily Insight, we're looking at how forgiveness and reconciliation can only really stem from a renewed heart. In Luke 6, Yeshua says this. He says, "The good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings out that which is good, and the evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart brings out that which is evil. For out of the abundance of the heart his mouth speaks." I knew a man who was recently honored at his work for being an outstanding performer, always receiving gracious comments from customers with whom he interacted on a regular basis. He even received national recognition and many accolades for his achievements. However, when a particular crisis arose and he was challenged by his boss with a sharp disagreement over his mishandling of a particular situation, what began as a discussion of strategy degraded into a string of profanity and lashing out, blaming a customer for his own inability to bring a situation to its proper conclusion. This indignation, it would seem, was always simmering and bubbling under the surface of the polished outward appearance of his performance. And when a situation challenged his work, what was truly in his heart boiled over and out of his mouth, revealing the true nature of his character. Yeshua calls this the fruit of the tree. The wider context of our verse today demonstrates this idea in Luke 6. It says, "For there is no good tree that brings forth rotten fruit, nor again a rotten tree that brings forth good fruit. For each tree is known by its fruit. For people don't gather figs from thorns, nor do they gather grapes from a bramble bush. The good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings out that which is good, and the evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart brings out that which is evil. For out of the abundance of the heart his mouth speaks." If, as Yeshua teaches, that each tree is known by its fruit, then we can ascertain very quickly what's in a person's heart by what they say and how they say it. Now, the same can be said of us. The words we speak illustrate or reveal what's actually in our hearts. So if we're to be speaking and demonstrating forgiveness and reconciliation with others, then that forgiveness and reconciliation will truly need to be in our heart. And this can only be accomplished when we step out of the way of our old natures and allow God to work through our renewed nature in those situations. In 2 Corinthians 5, Paul explains it this way. He says, "Therefore we know no one after the flesh from now on. Even though we have known Messiah after the flesh, yet now we know him so no more. Therefore, if anyone is in Messiah, he's a new creation. The old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. But all things are of God, who reconciled us to himself through Yeshua Messiah, and gave to us the ministry of reconciliation. Namely, that God was in Messiah reconciling the world to himself, not reckoning to them their trespasses, and having committed to us the word of reconciliation." If, as Paul writes, we are new creations, then we need to operate within the new creation of God's kingdom and live and abide by its principles, and not the principles of this old creation. Both Yeshua and Paul convey that the principle of reconciliation and forgiveness is a core principle of God's kingdom. If our hearts have been renewed, then that forgiveness and reconciliation can truly reside in our hearts. So our ability to speak this forgiveness and reconciliation to those around us appears to be a choice that we have every day, but only when we recognize and remember who we really are. It's in this fashion that God is honored among the nations when his children are operating with the righteousness of his kingdom, regardless of the outward situations and conditions they encounter. And when the abundance of the heart is good treasure, then that good treasure can't help but be shared with those who need it most. Well, as always, I hope today's insight was helpful for you. Please be sure to visit coreofthebible.org for hundreds of other Bible articles like this, along with other podcast episodes and videos. Thanks so much for listening today. Take care.